Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far with Los Angeles Thieves getting shocked again. Their 5th straight loss in a row in franchise history to the Los Angeles Guerrillas. Is it about time we start talking about the Champs Curse? They started last season slow, ended up going back-to-back at the end of the year, but after doing that, you wouldn't expect the same story to repeat again. Is it possible this is another spiral from a Champs winning team into an eventual blow-it-up moment? Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. We hit 92,000 subs yesterday, love to see it. You guys have been out of control the last month, well over 3,000 subs of gains in the last 28 or so days. So if that's not one of you guys quite yet, would really appreciate if you look at that red button. I think they made it black now, it's not even red anymore. Maybe it's red on mobile, I don't know. So YouTube doing weird things, but yeah, 100k by the end of the season, that is what we are going to go for, I've decided. First of all then, I thought it was kind of funny here actually, the way that the CDL described JoeDeceives as a ranked play kid again, or you know, former ranked play demon. I think he quote tweeted to say like, I'm never going to get over this kind of stigma, right? But it's a cool thing to say, right? The fact that he was basically just a ranked play kid playing with Doug to Arcitys & Co last season, and all of a sudden he's considered to be one of their, well, arguably one of the scariest SMGs, because obviously their performance in their first weekend, or first match of the weekends, wasn't so good. But against Thieves, very solid indeed, and I want to give kind of more credit to LA Guerrillas than just to trash on Thieves here, but nonetheless, we've got to talk about Thieves, because Stage 2 last season, they went 0-5, and were on the cusp of blowing it up. They didn't in the end, they decided not to blow up the team, blow up the roles, but this season, they don't have the option of that, right? They've already made the role changes that they were going to make, put Kenny to the sub, they've already brought in Coach Shane, they don't have too many more tools in the arsenal before a roster change might be required. Now, got to be said, I kind of implied this yesterday, but obviously Exceed came out with the whole talking trash back on Drazah for the 3-0 when it mattered thing, and obviously that tweet that Drazah did a couple of years ago was based on a situation where it was the World Championship, right? So, you know, Drazah knocked Exceed and cut out of Champs, and he comes out with the following, and then like 3 years later, Exceed comes back with this. Now, of course, in fairness, and as Crow does imply, anything as Clayster says, this is at the end of the day a league match that doesn't mean that much in the grand scheme of things, and LA Guerrillas I still don't expect to be a dominant team by any means, but nonetheless a great result, and Exceed was certainly letting them know for this one. I didn't show you guys the final series scoreboard last night, and we'll do that now. Envoy goes marginally positive, and it's interesting really because this Thieves kind of KDs, we saw this last year where the KDs were very similar. They would, at the World Championship and Major 4, they pretty much all had a 1.05 to a 1.10. That was like the entire range of their team. They were all in that range. The teamwork was just on another level, and they got there last year. Can they get there this year? I don't know. I know a lot of people put Thieves in the S tier going into this game. I was hesitant to do that just because I know what happens when you win Champs. It's never easy to maintain that level at the start of the game, and it very rarely ever happens, as we'll see here in a few minutes' time. So Thieves certainly aren't quite there yet. Maybe they can get there, but as it stands, the league is, I think, more competitive anyway. It's not looking particularly likely that Thieves even win an event this year, especially on the historical data that backs that up. So Arcitys bounces back with a great series yesterday, 1.21 from him, Exceed JoeDeceives Assault, pretty much what you'd want from them, and they win that series 3-1, pretty comfortably in the end, it's got to be said, in those respawns, and yeah, thought it was kind of funny from Thieves. Can't say LA without saying Thieves, even though, not even true, I think the flag even said LA Guerrillas in the replies after they take him down. I don't know what Envoy's playing at here, but I mean, yeah, maybe they need to be focusing more on practice or something there with the Los Angeles Thieves on that, the 100 Thieves at HQ, because, yeah, it wasn't looking so good last night, and even Arcitys was talking trash on Aches after that performance as well. So it was all good fun across the board, but nonetheless, I'm sure Thieves are starting to get a bit concerned at these results, and certainly Kenny is, based on his words, as Drazah says here, GG's Thieves lost 3-1, GG's Guerrillas lost 3-1, need to lock in for the rest of these matches. That is certainly true, because this was meant to be their winnable game. They played a game against the subliners, the champions. They could have won that one, right? There was a world in which Thieves 3-0'd the subliners. They didn't have the clutch factor. They probably should have won game 2, game 3. Didn't happen. They lost that series 3-1 after winning map 1 and being in a good position game 2. Got 1v3'd by Hydra, then it all fell apart. And we know that last season, it was Thieves that went early on to a lot of game 5s. And their game 5 search and destroy play was just not where it needs to be. And Octane, obviously, he had the 0-12 double donut performance against FaZe last year. And this year as well, Octane's search hasn't been very good. So, you know, things for them to work on. And even as Kenny says, got to be better moving forward. I don't know what's going on here. Like, GG's and the Guerrillas lost 3-1. So very strange that Kenny's like, okay, I don't know what's happening. I don't know why we're so bad and what is affecting our team right now. And maybe what is affecting their team is the Champs Curse. If you guys are new to the scene, you guys might not be so familiar with the Champs Curse, but I'll kind of explain what it is in a second and why history tells you that Thieves will have to make a roster change at some point or another. Now, maybe they'll break the curse. Some team will break the curse eventually. I don't know if it's going to be Thieves. So these, for example, are the online qualifier standings so far in this game. Ultra 5-1, Rokkr 4-2, FaZe, Solaners Esports, OpTic all 3-2, a few teams at 3-3, and then right down at the bottom, Legion 2-3. And think about it, right? Legion, given their team shouldn't be fantastic, and especially because they're not playing from a facility, they should be getting bodied online. They're 2-3. Thieves are now 2-4. Yes, they're playing from LA, as are London Royal Ravens, I believe. That's not ever ideal for an internet side and for the server locations that the qualifiers are played on, but still, you'd think they could do better than that, especially because they are the world champions after all. And then Surge are 1-5, which is one of the other key stories, but at least Surge came second at the major, right? They're at least good on LAN, whereas Thieves came top 6 at the major, which was solid, and but they never really looked like going too much further than that, to be honest. Especially because last year at the kickoff, Thieves came top 4, so they actually started out last year looking okay, then they fell off, then they came back again. This year they haven't really started out looking good at all, to be honest. And these are the point standings. They're actually top 6 right now, but they're tied with Legion and Mutineers, which isn't really where you want to be. I mean, the teams above them already, FaZe, Ultra, Subliners, pulling ahead of Los Angeles Thieves, and they came top 6 in the major to get 20 points on the board, but they've only got 20 points from all the qualifiers so far, and they play Toronto Ultra next, which is going to be far from an easy result. So just wanted to share some words from the flank last night from Parasite and also from Eggs on this team, and the fact that Parasite say, yeah, these guys are kind of mid right now. The performance against Guerrillas was very much underwhelming. They play a very strong Toronto team next. They might be 0-3 in the qualifier sets. Then they play London. That should at least be winnable. Then they play Boston, who are still looking pretty decent. So, I mean, look, right now it looks like a 2-3 setup here for Los Angeles Thieves. At best, they could be 1-4. Last time at stage 2, they were 0-5. So maybe that gives them some confidence that they can still turn it around. But as I say, they don't have any longer the tools in the arsenal to make these role changes, to make these coaching changes that they had this time last year.
I got Toronto being the Thieves, but the one thing I will say about the series and just Thieves in general is like they need a win or they need to make this a competitive series, because as much as these guys are the world champions, I'm starting to lose faith in this team again. Like they're getting to the point where they're starting off the season and they're just not looking like super good. They're looking like a mid team right now in terms of like the way they've been playing, and they definitely don't have a mid roster. So we need to see them step up because they need to start racking up these wins, especially versus the like top teams, in my opinion.
You know what sucks? Before you go, Ben, Nate. So I told you guys, Nate showed some love, sent me the JBL headset. Yeah. He also sent me some apparel, some hoodies, some sweatpants. I swear, every time he sends me some fire stuff, the team just gets shit on.
No way.
I want to rep a winning team, you know, and I can't be throwing on a hoodie coming on the show when they're just getting smoked. So
So if you guys are new to competitive COD, let me talk about the Champs curse. So Call of Duty Champs has been going on for 10 years now. 2013 was the first one. Freako Impact won it that year. They won the World Championship. That was the team, of course, of Parasite, Karma, Killer, and Miracles. And they did win another event at least after that one. Now, the same thing happened in Ghosts when the Complexity team of Karma, Crim6, Aches, and TP won the World Championship that year. They then won another event, multiple events following up from it. However, those seasons, the World Championship was in the middle of the year. It was in March, basically to promote the second DLC. Ever since its move to the end of the year in Black Ops 3, it's been a very different story. Envy won Champs in Black Ops 3 at the end of the year. They came into Infinite Warfare. They were terrible at the start. Then they got good at the end. They made 2 grand finals, lost both of them to OpTic. OpTic then won Champs in Infinite Warfare, went into World War II. They couldn't win that season. They got so close and choked to grand finals against FaZe at the Stage 1 playoffs. Then they blew the team up. Evil Genius, of course, bit of a fluke win anyway that season in World War II. Obviously, it became 5v5 anyway, so the team was going to be different. United, unfortunately, couldn't do anything because they didn't make it into franchising. But then Empire, yes, that went from 5v5 to 4v4. They had to drop Claystep, but still, they made 2 finals that year, lost both of them. And then the real example that tops this all off is FaZe, who won the World Championship in Cold War and then couldn't win at all in Vanguard despite 4 opportunities in grand finals. So every single team, first of all, every single organization that's ever won a World Championship has never won another one. And it's not even that the same team of 4 or potentially 5 has never won another World Championship together. It's that that team of 4 or 5 has never won another event together since the World Championship has been at the end of the year. So it's a really strange phenomenon, right? And yes, we go into a new game every single year, but the fact that for the last several years, since really 2015, 2016, and 2015 is true as well, with the World Championship that year, it was in April, March, whatever, with Denial, but they couldn't win a team after they won Champs. So, you know, it's always been a thing for many years now that if you win Champs, it doesn't go so well the next season. Whatever reason that is for, whether it's you know, the teams get a bit too confident, or whether other teams actually target that team. Because look, going into Vanguard, there were teams that were building rosters to take down FaZe because they dominated Cold War. They were, you know, people at Seattle, OpTic were building teams with the deliberate intention of being able to beat FaZe, and that's what they managed to do. So should Los Angeles Thieves be worried and potentially considering some action going forwards? Because if we look at their qualifiers, they've played so far, right? If we look at the bottom mid, they played the Subliners, they played Guerrillas. This was really the series to me that was like, damn, they lost to LAG, and LAG lost 3-2 to Mutineers, but, you know, and LAG are probably still going to be decent, right? They looked actually quite solid yesterday, but still, Thieves losing to them is not good, especially when they play Ultra next. Then they play London, which is certainly winnable, you would think, with the way London are right now. And then their final match is against a pretty solid Boston team, which I would have being at least a 50-50 coin flip matchup right now. So to me, this Thieves team is either going to go 1-4 or they go 2-3. They could go 0-5. As I say, last year, stage 2, they went 0-5, and they were on the verge of blowing it up. This was their performances the entirety of last season. And obviously, it was a brand new roster going into this season, so the team had arguably more leeway. They started quite well. They were 4-1 in the first set of qualifiers. They did okay at the major as well, despite the loss to Toronto in round 1. Then they went 0-5 through stage 2. They did pretty bad at the major as well, went out top 8, I'm guessing here. Then they had a good run at the Pram all the way to the grand finals at that event, so that gave them some confidence. Then it was a bit of a mixed bag here at major 3. They went to the major, did okay, and then they hit form at major 4. In the qualifiers, they were still 3-2, but then despite losing to New York at the major, they won the grand finals there 5-3, and then of course they won the World Championship without losing a single series and became the dominant force of the end of the season. But will a story like that continue again going into this year? And people say about last year's performance from Thieves, and I think understandably, that like, oh yeah, they didn't blow it up, they proved that sticking by the roster makes sense, which I agree, and I think it's good that they did that. But other teams have done that in the past, and it's either worked or it didn't. We know FaZe, right? I mean, look, they did so well in Cold War, they stuck by that roster for the entirety of last season, making 4 grand finals. They still made a change with Arcitys for Slasher at the end of the season. So if you were Los Angeles Thieves, would you be concerned, or what would you even do at this point, right? Because of course, last season they set the precedent. They went from a year in Cold War where they made so many changes and it never worked for them, until a situation last year where they made no changes and it worked very well. So obviously, culturally there within that team, they've got the philosophy that they work things out, they don't make changes, which might well be the correct decision for that particular lineup. But nonetheless, it must be said that if things don't go well, they don't have the options like they did before, and it's not looking so good so far. They're 2-4 online. They came top 6 of the first event. They're not really looking where they need to be. Kenny's like, I don't know what's going on or why we're playing so bad right now compared to the opposition. Maybe the curse is starting to hit them again, and if it does start to hit them, then what changes would you even make to that team? If you were forced to make a change to Los Angeles Thieves, I don't really know what you do, because Envoy's doing well. Kenny looked much better lately. Octane's been fine. Drazah's been fine. It's like, you know, there really isn't a change to be even made there, I think, and they don't really have a substitute or anything they can lean on. So definitely questions for Thieves. I'm sure they'll run it forward for the rest of these qualifiers going into Major 2, but if things go bad at Major 2, and you've got other teams blowing it up and making changes, we know Dashy's available, we know that other teams might well make changes for the likes of Dashy if they underperform at Major 2, you know, could LA Thieves be in consideration there? Probably not this early, especially with their philosophy of wanting to stick it out, but it might not work this season as it has in the past, and certainly that's what history would imply. So very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this in the comment section below. Just a quick note here from Arcitys, because definitely a key point of discussion again has been the Vaznev the last few days. We saw the Vaznev being very effective this weekend. Kenny had one of his first good weekends of the season, really, with the Vaznev in hand. Must say though, the current meta is so much more fun to watch than the M4s. It's got to be said. Like, seeing good SMG players fry with a Vaznev is way more entertaining to watch than to see AR players set up on headies with the M4. So look, even if the Vaznev is the most OP gun in the game, it's better to watch, and therefore I'm still in support of it. But very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new as always. Take care, and I'll see you next time.